Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Happy Amblin, the premier Spielberg, Adam Sandler retrospective podcast detailing the directorial works of the aforementioned Steven Spielberg and the film starring Adam Sandler. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me today, as always, is Matt Garingo.
That's me.
How are you doing, Matt?
Oh, I'm just fantastic.
Yeah?
For the people in the future, where either one or both of us have died of the coronavirus, because we are currently in the middle of the great reopening of America. We were supposed to record a Star Wars thing today that I hope you've heard by now, because it should be out before this, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But we're having, more specifically, I'm having technical difficulties. So we're not recording that. Instead, we're going to talk about Twilight Zone, the movie.
Directed by Steven Spielberg and also a couple other people.
And 3 other people.
George Miller from Mad Max fame and Happy Feet. Joe Dante from the almost Jaws 3. And, of course, Gremlins and a bunch of other great shit. And John Landis, who no one has any mixed opinions about.
Yeah, nothing in John Landis's closet.
You know, some might say John Landis is the ultimate helicopter parent.
Whoa. This is a movie. For those of you who don't know why Diego just said something completely horrible, what overshadows this movie more than the fact that 4 of the heaviest hitters in Hollywood of the 80s came together to make a Twilight Zone movie is because this movie's more famous for a horrible, horrible helicopter accident that happened on set that killed actor Vic Morrow and 2 children. And unfortunately, it was caught on tape. If you're on YouTube at 4 a.m. and you're morbidly curious, although I think I might be gone by now. Remember the early days of YouTube where you could just find like this incredible nightmare shit on there?
Yeah, but I was too much of a chicken shit to actually go through that stuff, and now I'm like, thank God I was a chicken shit, because like there's some shit online you kind of catch once in a while, like on Twitter or Instagram, and you're like, why did someone share that? And
I've seen it.
Yeah, I have not, and I don't feel like it is necessary to, honestly, because that's a very real tragedy.
Yeah, it's more just like, and like just not to critique a fucking horrible thing, but like you can't see anything, so it's really, don't worry about it too much. But it's awful. It's one of those things where it's like, we'll get into it, but it's something where really it just serves as evidence of like this should never have been filmed the way it was. Like if you watch it, it's like this shot, this scene, this sequence had no reason to exist. And someone should have caught that at some point. But it was not. So, yeah, good times on the Twilight Zone, the movie.
Should we talk a little bit about the history of the Twilight Zone franchise at this point, or do we kind of want to linger on this for a little bit? I don't want to be disrespectful, of course.
Yeah, I think all we can really talk about is everyone knows the Twilight Zone. Rod Serling was like lasted 5 years, influenced a lot of people. The only real notable thing is that Spielberg started on Night Gallery, so we can that was like one of his earlier works was Night Gallery, which was the episode I totally just phoned in and didn't even bother rewatching.
I did all the heavy lifting on that one, so
yep.
You're welcome, world.
I don't even remember. We just talked about stuff that had nothing to do with Night Gallery.
No, I talked about how it's not very good.
Yeah. But I had seen it and I remembered it, and I was like, I don't need to rewatch that. And I think the only notable things, I think this is Spielberg's first time working with an intellectual property that's not his.
I believe you're right, at least on the big screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because obviously his TV work was not... He didn't create any TV shows at the time.
This feels like kind of what Spielberg will start to become more of, where like now he's a brand. And it'll be like, you know... I really feel like if there hadn't been the tragedy that kind of overshadowed everything, there'd be tons of videos of Spielberg being like, oh, I grew up on the Twilight Zone, and it was always my dream to bring the Twilight Zone to the big screen, and then use that to springboard a revival of the Twilight Zone, which I think this did.
Yeah, actual television series would come around 86, so like 3 years after this aired, or 2 years after it premiered.
And instead Spielberg did like Amazing Stories. Do you remember that?
I've never seen a single Amazing Stories thing. I just know of its existence.
That's
it.
One time in like the early 2000s, the Sci-Fi Channel marathoned all the Amazing Stories episodes. And I watched a bunch of them, but that's the only time I've ever watched Amazing Stories. And you know what? And I have to correct something from our Poltergeist episode, because fucking... Alright. I failed to do the one thing I promised myself to do. Because we got a lot of comments saying we pronounced Tobe Hooper's name wrong.
Yes, we did.
And I was insistent to you that it was Tobe Hooper. And you were like, no, it's Tobe Hooper. So I just followed you. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to look up Mick Garris talking about him. And however Mick Garris pronounced it is the way we're going to say is the definitive way. And I didn't do that. So good job, me. But Tobe Hooper...
Excellent job, Diego.
Yes. Tobe Hooper worked with Spielberg again on Amazing Stories. And he directed a few episodes of that. Remember that Spielberg miniseries Taken? From like the early 2000s? You don't remember that?
No, I never saw it.
It's not great, but it was like really hyped as being like Spielberg doing aliens again, you know? And it's kind of like a story of alien abduction told over like multiple decades. Like it's all right. I never finished it though. Like I've started it like 6 times and never finished it.
Oh.
And yeah, it's, you know, but I guess they did work together again, so that's a good sign at least.
Yay!
Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about the 4 mini, because this is an anthology film, for those that don't know, because I guess just up front, right off the bat, do you like this movie? All things aside.
Well, alright, this is where it's going to get a little weird, because I like half this movie, because it's an anthology movie with 4 directors on it. The fucked up thing about it is the 2 seasoned directors who are the producers of it, who are the reason it exists, and the reason we're doing this retrospective, are the 2 stories I do not like in this. And it's Joe Dante's and George Miller's entries that I end up really liking.
Yeah.
And it's just so weird, because it's like... I mean, Spielberg's one almost feels like he wrote it in a weekend. And just kind of like, all right, here you go, Twilight Zone. And you're like, fine, I guess. I mean, I would just expect a little more from Spielberg in this time. And I think the Landis one, all things considered, is like a real mess. And just doesn't really work at all.
Yeah, even without like the horrifying, grim, unacceptable reality.
Yeah.
It's just not good.
It's not good. And then the Spielberg's one's more like, you know, Spielberg sentimentality shit. Mm-hmm. And it's like fine, but it's just kind of like you kind of watch it and then you're like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And
like honestly, like Duel is like way better. Like one scene of Duel is way better than this.
I just don't.
And obviously, totally different stories, but like that shouldn't be the case. I feel.
And maybe it's just the fact that like I got to give them some credit that they at least tried to mix up the type of stories they were doing, because a lot of people remember like the twist endings in Twilight Zone. A lot of people remember the horror elements of Twilight Zone, but there were that like those stories like went all over the place in terms of emotion. And so I got to give them credit for at least trying something non-horror. But the two that work are the horror ones, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a shame. I mean, I don't know. This is an odd entry in it, and it really is more known just for the unfortunate accident. And I believe it soured the relationship between Spielberg and Landis. Yeah, well, they were like friends up to that point, and Spielberg is in the Blues Brothers, which is one of like his only like acting roles, quote unquote.
You don't like Austin Powers 3?
Oh my god, he is in Austin Powers 3.
Yeah, and it's like a genuinely funny moment in that one.
He backflips out of the scene. He tells Austin Powers to shut the fuck up because he's won an Oscar.
I mean, if I was Steven Spielberg, that's how I'd want to be portrayed in a movie.
So describe that scene to the viewer who does not need to see Austin Powers and Goldmember. Spielberg is making an Austin Powers movie starring Tom Cruise, a lady whose name I can't remember, Danny DeVito as Mini-Me, and everyone's favorite Kevin Spacey as Dr. Evil.
Oh god, I forgot! Oh no!
Hey, DeVito as Mini-Me is pretty funny. He just gives the finger to the camera.
Oh. See, I've never been a fan of the Austin Powers movies, but I remember liking Goldmember.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the one that I remember being like, oh no, this is the funny one. But obviously I haven't revisited it in a long time, and I don't care to.
The first one really holds up. Second two are hit and miss. There's a running gag in the Austin Powers movies. The fat bastard ate a baby.
Oh, that's right.
I think I've brought that up on here.
Yeah, it's like Snowpiercer.
Yeah, those movies, except Snowpiercer did not make like $300 million at the box office.
No.
And for some reason, everyone was okay with the running gag that fat bastard ate a baby and wants to eat more babies.
I know what people taste like. I know that babies taste best.
None of that has to do with the Twilight Zone movie.
No.
But I guess we can kind of use this as an excuse to just shit on John Landis some more and hype up the great Joe Dante and George Miller.
I mean, I hate to admit, but like I love John Landis's run at that time is like they're among my favorite movies. Like I consider Blues Brothers like in my top 5 movies of all time. Like I love that. I love that movie. And it's, you know, it's just a shame he fucking sucks. And like I'll tell you, I probably, when it comes to Landis, like I'm with him up until like The Stupids, which is like 1996. Like that's how far I'll go with Landis in terms of liking his movies.
You're not a fan of Blues Brothers 2000?
Oh my god, that movie is so bad. Why is that movie that bad? That doesn't make any sense.
I've never seen it. I just know its reputation.
John Goodman's in it. And he's like, you know, John Goodman is hysterical in Life and other movies. He has no jokes in that movie. He does nothing funny. It's baffling.
No, there is like an entire subgenre of film that has John Goodman but does nothing with him. And I'm not going to list them, but there's a lot of recent ones. 10 Cloverfield Lane is like the last one I remember that utilized him to like his full potential, and he's like really good in that movie.
He's fantastic in that. He's so scary, which he's so rarely like that scary.
Yeah. I remember like Oscar buzz going around. Like, obviously that was never going to happen, but like film fans were like, "This is the best supporting actor nomination."
He got Tony Collette.
Ideally, yeah, he really did. And God, someone give him another role like that. Just really let him chew on some heavy shit.
Well, someone needs to give him something because he doesn't have. I don't even think he has an Oscar nomination, which is a crime. Weird. Like, how does you got like Barton Fink, which he's amazing in, and I would even take like Walter in The Big Lebowski. Like, I think that's Oscar worthy.
Oh yeah. I rewatched that for the first time like 2 months ago before this all shit went down. Mm-hmm. Holds the fuck up.
I know.
Really good movie.
It's one of those movies that like you're always worried about because it's been like co-opted by shitheads.
Yeah, exactly. It's Dark Knight syndrome kind of.
But it's so fucking funny, and he's so good in it. And I love that movie because he like ends up being inadvertently right about like everything. Like, he's clearly wrong, but he called the whole plot. Like,
but yeah, John Goodman. Just outstanding actor. Give him some work with Spielberg.
Yeah. Was when he did Inside Llewyn Davis, right? He's in that for like 10 minutes.
A bit. Yeah, he should be teamed with the Coen brothers, like Ballad of Buster Scruggs too.
Yeah, they're good at picking, like, they know when to use them. You know? Mm-hmm. They haven't let him down yet. They haven't. It's a little weird. I think, isn't Lebowski the last time they worked with Buscemi? Which you don't think about, because you kind of think of him as one of, like, the Coens' go-tos.
Yeah, and he's more of a Sandler go-to now.
Yeah, so, which is weird.
Aww.
I would love for Buscemi to come back. Another guy who I don't believe has an Oscar nomination.
No, but he got a lot of Emmy love from Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah. Which is
good.
That's good for him.
Yeah.
He should have gotten an Oscar nomination for playing Romero in Spy Kids 2.
Do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
Great trilogy of movies.
Oh yeah. The best.
I think this is like
trilogy.
our third time talking up the Spy Kids movies on this retrospective.
Oh, they're so good, and they were so important to little young Mexican Diego.
Yeah,
like, you have no idea.
There you go.
Yeah, I wanted to meet Steve Buscemi on an island and have him explain his fear of humanity's inadequacy to me. Much like the inadequacy of the Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah. So I guess the roundabout thing I was trying to get to is that I hate Landis's story. Which is this weird, like, if I remember correctly, his version is like a combination of multiple other Twilight Zone stories. Like, he took elements from like a few and put them together. And it doesn't work at all. But what does work, in my opinion, is the opening to this movie with Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd. Which is, like, I think classic, like, how, if you're, like, a scary short film, even if the punchline is a little weak, but it's weak in that it's, like, it's the setup to the Twilight Zone, so it's fine. But I like, that scene is kind of like, that's how you start this movie.
I guess, I don't know, like, I was not feeling this until, after Kick the Can.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, it really took me a minute. I
consider the opening of this like if it was a short film on its own of two guys who are talking about the Twilight Zone who then realize like that the punchline is, oh, they're actually in a Twilight Zone episode. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's a perfect little short film. And it's fine. Like, the setup, it's very basic. And Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd are both really good in it.
Oh yeah, Saints. I mean, for actors, I'm not gonna. We know not to claim that for every artist we like now. But
play that clip of Dan Aykroyd saying aliens won't visit us because of 9/11.
Hey, Albert Brooks.
All right, I gotta talk.
Innocent?
Let's just talk about how dumb that is for a second. That aliens who can travel across the entire universe, who could possibly visit Earth, and the amount of horrible shit that happens on the planet Earth, that because 9/11 was important to us, it must also be important to aliens. We are currently, the day we're living right now, more people are dying daily of the coronavirus than died on 9/11. But the aliens won't contact us because of 9/11. Thanks.
Well,
Danny
every
boy.
day is its own 9/11 now.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, there's your 9/11 joke.
There we go.
Fucking.
Wish we could go back to more innocent times.
Yeah, like the 1950s. When there were no problems and everything was in black and white.
Yeah, when everything in the 1950s was fine and didn't birth a show entirely about the paranoia of that time.
Oh, you're talking about... Oh, fuck, I forgot the other show. Never mind, I fucked up the joke. What was the other show? What was the one Spielberg directed? The shitty one.
Night Gallery?
Night, we did an episode, yeah.
I thought you were
you're talking about Night Gallery.
I thought you were going to go The Outer Limits.
Yeah, lots of exciting things in this that are not good.
Not really.
Like, it sucks to be like this, but
well, let's just talk about the plot of the first story by John Landis.
Oh, okay. Can I read the opening narration?
Oh, sure.
Okay, because this is what I always love in the Twilight Zone. Even like the really like not great episodes, you know, just the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, like that's the shit right there.
That the narration in the movie is done by Burgess Meredith, who was in 4 episodes of the Twilight Zone.
Wait, was he really?
Yeah, he was the devil in one of them. He's all the time in the world. He's the guy who breaks his glasses.
Oh.
He's like...
that's a fantastic episode.
Yeah. They showed that to us in, like, fucking middle school, and it's like, all right, have fun thinking about that.
Why did they do that?
I don't know. They were trying to teach us something. And it clearly didn't work. It just made me think of, like, the nuclear apocalypse.
All right, so you're about to meet an angry man, Mr. William Connor, who carries on his shoulder a chip the size of the national debt. This is a sour man, a lonely man who's tired of waiting for the breaks that come to others, but never to him. Mr. William Connor, whose own blind hatred is about to catapult him into the darkest corner of the Twilight Zone. Boom!
Yeah, that's a good opening.
Yeah, that's the shit right there.
And I want to say that, like, the first scene in the bar because the story is the guy, Vic Morrow's character is a racist. That's the setup. And it's kind of like a naturalistic, like, kind of eases you in. Like, I think we've occasionally been at a bar and, like, overheard someone talking like this. You know? Maybe a little less these days. But
it's still there.
You can feel it. I mean, if you go to certain corners of the country, it's not as well hidden.
Or if you watch certain news channels, they're just saying it.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you watch the most popular news station in this country, this is what they're talking about every day. Someone find the clip when Bill O'Reilly, before he got thrown off, he did a report once where, like, he went to a black restaurant.
Oh no!
And was, like, shocked they had silverware.
Oh no!
Yeah, this is like 2004. Like,
oh god!
I think they've scrubbed all memory of it because they keep taking down the clip of him losing his mind.
Oh, that's the only good Bill O'Reilly bit.
Yeah, which is what's fucked up about that is he wasn't even, you know, O'Reilly factor Bill O'Reilly then. He was like Entertainment Tonight, and he's confused by Sting. He just loses it. See, that's who this episode should have been about. Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, Bill Connor, Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, he has that
right
freak out on the set, and then the plot of this episode happens.
Oh my god.
And the plot of this episode, which I'm a little confused by what happens, to be honest. Like, not that it needs an explanation, but I'm not totally sure what they were getting at with it. Is he's a racist. He says some racist shit at a bar. He's upset that I think he got passed over for a promotion and it went to a black coworker. Is that what it was?
I think so. Not black. I think Jewish, because then later in the story,
well, he finds time.
Bill O'Reilly finds himself in Nazi-occupied France.
Yeah, well, this guy, in the span of like 5 minutes, finds a way to insult every minority group in the United States.
Oh my god. Okay, so this is related, I swear. I've been rewatching Community for the first time in like years, and one, that show holds the fuck up. Mm-hmm. And two, this is just Chevy Chase's character, but without like the jokes. It's just Pierce from Community.
You're not wrong. And does Pierce ever end up learning a lesson? I think he just dies.
Well, it's complicated because Chevy Chase is a notorious, like, asshole.
Yeah.
But how they write him out of the show is actually really touching. Like, he gets, like, an Obi-Wan Kenobi style moment
I
from
remember
Jeff.
that, but, like, I don't think his racism was ever cured.
No. But you see his father, and he's just, like, the ultimate racist.
Yeah, his father's, like,
it's
somehow
like,
more racist, which is, I mean... Yeah, Community surprisingly holds up. I was actually talking with friends the other day, and I think a big reason why Community holds up is that we haven't heard from Dan Harmon in, like, 2 years.
Yeah, that helps. Because Dan Harmon is also kind of like Chevy Chase.
Yeah. That was not my idea. That was my friend Ethan's idea, so shout out to Ethan.
Yay, Ethan. Thank you for listening.
But anyway, this guy's racist, and then he steps out of the bar, and I believe he immediately ends up in Nazi-occupied France, I think.
Yes.
And is, like, harassed by Gestapo agents, and then, like, they mistake him for a Jew. Like, I guess he is a Jew, like, is what they're saying. And then, like, he'll die, and he'll wake up in, like, KKK era South, and they're gonna, like, lynch him because he's black. But, like, he doesn't become black. Like, thankfully they were smart enough to be like, oh no, we're not gonna put him in blackface or something. But it is this weird, there is this interesting disconnect where people will be, like, accusing him of being black, and he very clearly isn't. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it creates, like, a weird thing where, like, it kind of is that, like, reminder of how fucked up racism is.
Yeah, like it's the worst thing, like, ever.
But it's also
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but it's that thing of also where we kind of chalk up racism to... Oh, this movie, this doesn't, but in a lot of people's minds where it's like, we just go like, oh, racism is stupid and irrational. Can't we all just see past our skin colors? And we kind of ignore that a lot of economic forces tend to drive racism in this country, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's contributing factors, of course.
Yeah, but I don't know, there's something to... I just don't understand. I don't get it totally. It's like,
what's the point of it? Like, it keeps tossing him into these, like, situations where, oh, he's now the persecuted, and he's walking miles in the oppressed shoes that he was oppressing.
Yeah,
and then it's like, that's it. And it's like, okay, I don't even think it's, like, a wrong, like, approach for the story. But, one, the direction's not, like, that good. It's just kind of, like, all happening in front of us. And two, you're right. I don't think it, like, wraps up satisfactorily. It just kind of...
Here's the part where we got to get depressing, I guess.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because Vic Morrow, the actor here, as we mentioned, was killed by a helicopter accident. The sequence that he was killed while filming, he was rescuing, I believe he's rescuing 2 Vietnamese children from something. Like they're caught in the crossfire of like American military action, right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't know what the full story was of what it was originally supposed to be. So it makes me wonder if maybe there was an original version where like when he learns to save someone, he gets out of it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not how it ends. So I feel like that's what was lost in that. Because if you watch it, I think I should have paid attention more. But when he ends up in Vietnam in this one, there's like a weird disconnect where there's like footage of him running through the jungle, and then like seemingly disconnected footage of American soldiers. Mm-hmm. So it feels like that's what was really lost. That whatever was supposed to happen in the Vietnam sequence was lost when he was killed. There's also this is where it gets weird, because like if it was a pickup shot, like the soldiers were like filmed in order to finish the fucking movie. Landis found time to put a joke in that sequence, which is one of the soldiers said we shouldn't have killed Captain Niedermeyer, which is a reference to Landis's earlier film Animal House, where at the end of it, when it tells you what happens to everyone, it says Niedermeyer was killed in Vietnam by his own men. And yeah, I hope that's not the case. I hope that was just they just had that footage. I hope that wasn't a pickup shot. But yeah. And I think the famous story, unfortunately, is like they it's really awful to go into. They kind of misled the parents of the children that were involved, and then they shot them like they did it like all non-union, and they shot them at hours that you're like not supposed to film children, and like allegedly Landis is famously yelling for the helicopter to go lower that's in the shot. And what happened was the helicopter was too low, there was a pyrotechnic effect, it fucked up the helicopter, and the helicopter crashed down on everyone. And just awful. And again, it's one of those things where if you watch it, like it's insane that it even exists. Like there's no reason for it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I get that's supposed to be like the big scene of them like escaping, but you could have. I don't even think you need the helicopter in the shot, frankly. But it's. I don't know. It's and to give some, to give a little bit of leeway to John Landis. It's not like John Landis went out there trying to get people killed, Like it wasn't a malicious act, but it was incredibly reckless. And I mean, and the guy was like working on other movies while like the lawsuit was going on, Mm-hmm. And like I said, I was always under the impression for a long time that John Landis's career ended when he got 3 people killed filming this movie. And that's not true. It's like this is just before the Thriller video, which is what kind of revives his career.
Oh, God.
And he still has like Spies Like Us and Three Amigos and Coming to America after this.
God, that's right.
So
I always thought Coming to America came before.
No.
But nope.
Trading Places is the same year, I believe, as this.
And like, I want to give credit and say that nowadays something like this would never happen. But like, it took years for someone even like Bryan Singer to finally stop getting work.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's always still kind of like bubbling in the corner.
It's a thing where, accidents happen on sets, unfortunately, all the time, especially when you're dealing with big, stuff like this. Like, it's usually there's a explanation involved, like where you go, it was an accident. Like, it ultimately was an accident, but this is one where it was the recklessness of throwing children and an actor in the middle of a scene like that. there's just not too. Usually, when you have something like this, there's usually one person maybe in the situation, and usually they're a professional stunt person, you know, who was trained to deal with. I mean, if you just it's a nightmare if you ever see that footage, because Vic Morrow carrying these two children is clearly struggling with all the effects that are going on around him, and it's just like no one saw that this was a problem, like that they decided to go through with this, and I just think I just feel like there had to have been another way to film it without them in the shot, you know, or at the very least separated enough to where they couldn't have been caught in the crossfire like that. And it's just wild. Like I you know, and he was found not guilty, by it, but
yeah, it's not exactly an exciting topic of conversation.
And I mean,
it's a very sad story.
Yeah, I'm being a little kind to Landis, but you can look up a lot of what was said and how he handled it and draw your own conclusions. I'll just say that. And like I said, I guess it soured the relationship between Spielberg and Landis, mainly over how Landis handled the aftermath.
I guess there are a lot of conversations between, I believe they're called the Horror Masters, that Mick Garris kind of assembles every once in a while, because he's someone who obviously loves the horror film community, and he wants everyone to just like hang out and trade stories and like talk to each other and stuff like that, right? And during those conversations, I guess, like it always kind of comes out that John Landis is like, he's kind of got a reputation for saying a lot of things. Yeah. And it's very obvious when you watch interviews completely unrelated to the Twilight Zone that he might be a little high on his own supply.
He's a guy. I don't know if there's a kind of way to put it, you know. And again, it's one of those things that was just like, yeah, the guy made a lot of movies I love, but no movie is worth dying for ever. Like, I guess it depends. At this stage, it'd be like if a movie has to get made and Donald Trump has to die for it to get made, I'm like, fucking shoot that shit. But
fucking hey, let's go.
Yeah, it could be like Ghoulies 5, and it would be worth it if Donald Trump goes down.
Ghoulies Retrospective. Let's get this started.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I've never seen the Ghoulies, so we're good.
I saw them all once. That was it. That's enough.
Not quite Puppet Master 3.
Nope, not even close.
All right.
Hold on, before I stop, I want to. There's some book about the accident that I want to find, but I can't find it. I was hoping to just recommend it and be like, you should read up on this a little bit. But I can't seem to find it. It had a weird title. It was something. That's the famous book where he's allegedly shouting lower to the helicopter.
Well, I guess to help transition this into the other segments of the film before we start wrapping up, I think recently there's been kind of an awakening to the myth, the bullshit myth, I should add, of like having to suffer for art, you know, and like the tortured artist. I think that's really kind of starting to fade away. And I think a big part of that is social media, which I don't always love, obviously. And especially with movie marketing, it's always, you know, sometimes it's cute, like Tom Holland being like, whoops, I dropped the Spider-Man trailer early or something like that. Like, whatever, that's harmless, you know. But there is, I'm going to pull up an article from Siddhant Adlaka, who covered a series that was originally set to film in 2006, and it is called Tao. It was created and, I believe, directed by a man named Ilya Kurzanovsky. Forgive me if I just butchered that name. But it is a Russian program that would follow hundreds of non-professional actors and thousands of extras day and night as they lived life as if they were under the watchful eye of the KGB from many, many decades ago now. And basically, it was supposed to be like the most stressful cinematic environment and like production ever, right? Like a legitimate nightmare. Like there's like a bunch of bullshit behind the scenes stuff that's getting sorted out. People's like lives have basically been like ruined, and
oh wow,
even the critical reception of it is just like monstrously disastrous. Like,
oh wow,
but not in a fun way. Like it's just kind of depressing to start hearing about, right? And so stuff like that, I think, are the final nail in the coffin that endangering oneself to a certain extent is not worth any artistic expression.
You want to hope, but
I mean, hey, maybe I'm naively optimistic.
Yeah, I just think
I think we're seeing a change, at least.
I think the jury is still out, is all I'll say. Not in a like pessimistic way. I just think that there's still an opportunity for a lot of these people to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we're seeing is luckily, like, didn't Louis C.K. finally dropped like another stand-up special, right? But it's
probably. I haven't kept up.
It's being released exclusively through his website, and so like the only people that are checking it out are like the people that have stood by him, and like maybe critics. And so like I think what we've unfortunately found out is that for whatever reason, white people circle the wagons a lot of the times when other white people are attacked, and there are people that will defend anything these days if you are white, and there's people who'll be like, can't we forgive and forget and then move on. And although it surprisingly does not get extended to white Jews that much, but hey, who knows what that's about.
Well, Matt, real oppression is not being able to go to the beach.
Real oppression is getting your book reviewed negatively. It's akin to book burning.
Is that what was actually said?
Someone was saying that recently.
Oh, yikes with a capital Ikes.
But people are, I don't know. It's a weird. We're at this weird turning point where I have to keep reminding myself that the majority of the public is on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
That like the majority of us end up agreeing, but the people in power and the people empowered by the system tend to be at odds with a lot of that. And it's really just a question of how much longer can they ride that out, Like, I have to keep reminding myself that, like, that whenever I see, like, all these fucking idiots going out protesting, being like, reopen the country, and whenever I see that getting headway and getting news coverage and all this stuff, I have to remind myself that this entire country only functions because democracy isn't extended to 100% of citizens. That if it was, shit would totally turn the other way. And I have to remind myself that so I don't lose faith in things getting better at some point. So I guess we'll see. But, yeah. What's Bryan Singer up to these days?
Well, hey, to go back to a positive note, not much. So
he almost did the Red Sonja movie, right?
He did, and then everyone was like, "We're not touching that shit with a 10-foot pole."
Yeah.
So then they were like, "Fine, we'll hire someone else."
Which Robert Rodriguez was going to do at one point.
Yeah. Well, he's like Del Toro, where they're like attached to like a dozen different things just in case they don't work out.
Yeah.
And that usually works out pretty well for them. So.
Oh yeah, they usually get paid to develop things that never get made.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's also nice.
That'd be great to have a name like that.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. Hey, speaking of Bryan Singer and Red Sonja, there's a great documentary about John Milius. Have you seen it?
I have not.
It's really good. It's just called Milius. And they interview, that guy, whoever directed it got, everyone. Like, they interviewed Spielberg in it, they interviewed George Lucas, and somehow they got Michael Mann.
Wow. And they didn't cry after?
No, I mean, his interview is substantially shorter than others, so...
Okay.
I'm willing to bet Michael Mann's notorious difficulty in interviews maybe was a problem, but they got enough. And they talked about John Milius writing an episode of Miami Vice. But inexplicably, in the middle of it, is Bryan Singer. And they're interviewing Bryan Singer, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why. Like, everyone in it has some connection to Milius, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they either, produced the film he was in, or, were at least part of, that era of filmmakers. And then they just have Bryan Singer in it for some reason. And I don't know why. And he specifically is there to talk about, he talks about Conan the Barbarian. And, that movie's influence on the genre. And I just found that so odd. Does someone have an explanation for that?
I mean, maybe he, weaseled his way into getting that project, as early as that documentary then.
Yeah, I know he was always talked about for the movie before people knew. And, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, if you want to know how my opinion shifted on someone, when I watched that documentary when it came out, I was like, oh boy, it's Bryan Singer. And when I watch the documentary now, I'm like, oh fuck, it's Bryan Singer. Anyway, we haven't talked about the segment by the director, whose retrospective this is.
Oh yeah, Kick the Can. It's a remake of the episode Kick the Can.
Scatman Crothers is in it.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a magic black man.
Yeah. All Stephen King books need him.
Although, Stephen King, thankfully, was kept far away from this. Well, maybe not thankfully. Maybe could have written something all right.
Yeah. Maybe they'd clash in interesting ways, the styles at least.
He's got a great story called Crouch End that feels like a Twilight Zone story. Or The Jaunt. Oh, The Jaunt would have been a perfect Twilight Zone-esque story. You ever read
Not
The Jaunt?
in the Tall Grass.
That's a great story.
Yeah, I know, it's a great story.
The movie, not so much.
No.
Have you ever read The Jaunt?
No, I haven't.
That's your homework, to read The Jaunt.
Okay.
Because it's a short story, and it's and by short, I mean short. And it just has one of the best, most terrifying endings ever. It's great. It'll keep you up at night.
All right. I trust you.
Yeah, this will be like the time I recommended I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Hey, I was about to say, after that recommendation, I kind of, am down to read whatever you recommend, but also I'm preparing for, very disturbing dreams.
It's Stephen King, so it's not as disturbing as Harlan Ellison, but it still is fairly disturbing. But Kick the Can is not disturbing.
No, it's kind of a good-natured story.
Yeah, it's a goofy story of a bunch of old folks living in an old folks' home. I would say the best thing in this is the old man who's getting dropped off. It's his first day, Very clearly being abandoned by his family, and he ends up being a huge asshole and hating people and being angry. And Scatman Crothers is there, and he's like, just because we're old doesn't mean we can't do anything. And he's like, we should play a game of Kick the Can, which is a game I guess children played at one point. I've never played
Was
Kick
it,
the
though?
Can. Yeah, Kick the
Yeah.
Can feels like a game that they made up. Like,
Mhm.
to hide the
Like-
fact that, like, to hide, like, racial segregation in the 50s, they made up the game Kick the Can to pretend it
I
was a
don't know,
more
if-
wholesome era.
I think it feels to me like when you're reading like those old textbooks, like you went to the store and Dave gave you 37 watermelons. You left with 38 potatoes. How many apples? You know, like that kind of bullshit. Where it's like no one thinks like this.
Or it feels like one of those stories that it's like Stickball, where it's like, it's Depression era abject poverty, like dressed up as a cute thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, you know what? It's Song of the South.
a little bit.
That's what it is.
Yeah, everything was fun. I don't know. Kick the Can. It must be real, but I don't even know. How do you play?
Well, you get a can,
Yeah, I understood that part.
and then you give it a little kick. Not too hard though.
Because like they play Kick the Can at the one point of the film, of the story, whatever, and I don't really understand what's happening. But the one woman kicks the can, and that's like a big deal.
Well, this can's magic. So.
Yeah. So yeah, they all the old people go out one night when they're not supposed to play Kick the Can, and in the middle of playing, they all become young kids again. And they're I like the transition from old people to young kids. I thought that was pretty good. Where they just kind of like they zoom out, they just film like the sky, and then you hear the voices change.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. And then they go, "Hey, you can be young again now." Scatman Crothers like, "I made you young because I'm a magic black man," and they're like, "Hey, but our childhoods actually sucked. I don't want to go through that again." And then he's like, "All right, you can be old people again." Except the one chooses not to be. He chooses to stay a kid. And I'll be honest. Look, like, I get it. The message is fine that, like, childhood is, like, it's always rosier when you look back at it. Like, fine, right? I think we can all agree on that. 2, just because you're old doesn't mean you have to, like, you know, you can still, like, be young at heart. Again, I agree. But if a magic can makes you young again, thereby giving you an extra maybe 75 years on this earth, I don't know. I'd roll those dice.
It depends how bad your childhood was, I guess.
I guess, but just because you're turned into a kid doesn't mean you have to relive your childhood now.
Sure, but then, like, I guess because you're taking it very literally, like, as a fantasy, as, like, you know, as a fable, like, it fits perfectly fine.
I wouldn't take it that literally if one of them didn't choose to remain a kid. Like, that's part of it is that.
Like, would you prefer if all of them, like, remained as children, then were like, we can kind of give it a shot again together?
No, I'm just a little bit like, I think the messaging is a little muddled. Which, you know what? That's kind of in the Twilight Zone's nature. A lot of those episodes are like that. But, like, this time around, I watch it and it's, I don't know, like, I'm trying not to be like a CinemaSins, like, flaws in the story, but
no, I don't think you're nitpick. I think you're bringing up, like, a fair criticism. You're not dinging it or some shit.
Like you know, it's not like these people become young. Like, the real problem is that suddenly you're an orphan. Like, that's a problem. But, like, they keep being like, but when I was young, my father died. I don't want to relive that. And it's kind of like, well, you're not going to relive that. Like,
yeah, it's not a time travel story.
Yeah, you're not back to being yourself as a kid again. And even then, to be honest, it's like, like, let's say if you did go back in time and suddenly you had to relive your childhood again, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know we're all supposed to live life without regrets, but I believe we all have a lot of things we would do differently.
Yeah.
Mainly, I would invest in Netflix, but hey. Because I did, this is a true story, I took economics in high school, as we all probably did, which was economics and psychology were both taught by the same woman, and she was a low-key racist teacher. And she was also the worst teacher I had, and she failed me. Yeah, that's a long story, but we had to do a game called the stock market game where we pretended to invest in stocks, and I chose Netflix right before the Netflix streaming launched. And if I had really invested, I could have made millions of dollars. With money I probably could have gotten a hold of if I had harassed relatives long enough. So you want to talk about some things I've thought about late at night when worried about paying medical bills. Yeah,
okay.
You know.
but again, if you're doing the kick the can version of this, you don't get that opportunity again.
Yeah, it's just I'm saying, like, both sides are kind of a little weird.
Okay.
You know? I'm really trying not to, like, dig into it too much. It's just I think that both messagings of the first two stories are a little muddled. And are fine. I mean, at the end of it, there's that sad moment where the old man is asking the old man to take him with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end we see that, like, oh, you know, now they're gonna live, like, even though they're at the Twilight years, Twilight Zone, even though they're at the end of their life, they're still gonna live every day like it's their last and live it to the fullest. And you see, like, and then Scatman Crothers leaves and goes to the next retirement home. And it's gonna, you know, the implication is that that's what he does. He just goes around doing that. And this one was directed by Spielberg.
Yeah, it's all fine.
Yeah,
it's all fine.
It just feels like this Spielberg kind of phoned this one in.
Yeah, and that's not a feeling I ever get from him, honestly. Like, even his misfires, like, I'm never really bored.
Yeah, honestly, the bigger complaint you can make about Spielberg is some of his stories it feels like he put too much effort into.
Yeah.
It's like, you've spent this much time making the fucking terminal. You built an airport to film the fucking terminal. Like, that's where it's like the guy, like, working overtime for something that doesn't deserve it. But hey.
Oh, but hey, the next segment.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something.
No. I had nothing after. I was like, maybe something will come to me, but no.
Next segment is a remake of the Twilight Zone episode "It's a Good Life," done by Joe Dante. And Joe Dante, just as Joe Dante does, just fills the thing with tons of his references to old media. And "It's a Good Life," for those who don't know, is the story about a young child with godlike powers who he keeps adults in total fear because they have to please him and serve him or else he'll do horrible things to them.
And this is actually kind of more for the Twilight Zone franchise as a whole. This episode got a sequel from the revival series in the 90s with Forrest Whitaker, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's actually like a solid sequel to the story. Like, they even bring back some of the same actors and stuff like that, except for the kid. Obviously, you know, it can't be the same kid because just time. Yeah. But, like, I think it's Cloris Leachman was in the original, and she comes back for the sequel one, and it's like, yeah, that's a really fun pair of episodes, and it leaves with, like, the scariest implication ever.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I'll have to check that out then.
Oh, okay, yeah, check it out. It's solid.
Wow, that's a good idea to do it like that, frankly.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is one of my favorite Twilight Zone stories. So revisiting the movie was more exciting because it paid off. Like, it's a good section of the film.
Yeah, and I like it. And this one mixes it up a little more than it's not just a straight remake of the episode where how do you say it? Like basically that episode starts and ends with that kid being an asshole.
Yeah.
And being evil. And this one, the kid is more just like a kid, you know? Who you can tell that at one point was a monster. And is now at this weird point where, like, he doesn't want to be a monster anymore. But he doesn't know how to do it, you know? Because he's this godlike creature.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, a kid. You
Yeah.
know, like
it's an interesting argument that, like, a kid with that sort of ability would do the horrible stuff they do, but then at some point crave trying to be good but not knowing how. Which is just I don't know, that's an interesting take on that character.
This is going to be kind of a weird pull, but, like, I think it's kind of like when you used to play Grand Theft Auto, and it's, like, really fun to just go around and basically be like a psychopath in a video game for, like, half an hour. But then after that, you're just kind of like, well, now what? Like, I did that. And that's fiction. That's not real life. And obviously this story is also fiction and not real life. But I don't know. I just found that fascinating because this predates that feeling you could get from a video game. And it also is exactly how I remember feeling in high school when I would do that in a video game.
Okay, then.
So I don't know. Like, that's really interesting to me that art kind of traveled through time like that.
You know what it reminds me of?
Something sane.
Did you ever read Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow?
The Superman comic, right?
Yeah, the Alan Moore quote-unquote final Superman story, which was closing the book on, like, the original Superman when they decided to reboot the DC universe in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that one, like, the ultimate villain at the end of it is revealed to be Mr. McSplicknick.
Oh, hang on. I actually know this. Mixer Mike's Spitlick. Mixer Spitlick.
Voiced by Gilbert Gottfried in the animated show.
Yeah, which is just fucking perfect.
Which is perfect casting. And but in that, it's revealed that he's, like, you know, the being from the fifth dimension who can do anything. And at the end, he reveals, like, yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to be good, and then I decided to play pranks on people. And he's like, now I think I'm going to spend the next million years being evil. Because I can, because I'm like a god. And he's like, maybe after that, I'll feel bad about it for a million years.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
There you go. And this one is, like, darkly hysterical. Like, it's genuinely suspenseful, like the scene when fucking poor Kevin McCarthy has to pull the rabbit out of the hat. And it just keeps going. And but it's both funny and frightening, I think. In a very playful way.
I would agree.
In a very
I mean, because, like, the baseline, like, metaphor for this kind of story, I think, is just about, like, parenthood, obviously. But, like, hear me out for a second. Like, a badly behaved child will, like, throw a tantrum or something like that, right? And you just don't want to set it off. It's not the literal end of the world, but this story kind of, like, extrapolates that and makes that possible. Like, it feels like the end of the world to an adult, but then it will actually become that now.
It's also just the general fear of the implication of children, which is that, you know, there's the generation that's going to replace you at some point. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but have to take care of you in the later years of your life. So, and in your eyes, they're always going to be those children, you know? Like,
yeah.
It's frightening when you think about, like, every generation has to go through it, and rightly or wrongly, but when you have to realize that the generation you raised is now the dominant voting bloc in the country.
Hope they make the right choices.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a little simplistic.
It's more complicated than that,
Yeah.
of course. But
Well, it's the famous Kurt Vonnegut quote where he's like, "True terror is waking up to realize your high school class is running the country," which is a frightening thought at times.
There's only a couple I'm worried about, if I'm being honest. But
Yeah.
still,
There's only a
it's
couple
not
I'm
just
worried
my
about.
high school class.
There's only a couple I'm worried about too, and I'm in contact with all of them. So it's an interesting window.
Well, most people in my high school class now have children or are married. Don't know what that's about.
Well, yeah, I got invited to my second wedding today. So, a very optimistic person who thinks that they're going to be able to have it in November.
Yeah, not to get too heavy right now, even though this is the episode we talked about the helicopter incident. But, like, I don't think people are fully comprehending just how bad it's going to get later.
Mm-hmm.
And how we're definitely not going back to quote-unquote normal.
Well, that's, you kind of, in a way, you kind of hope that. But it seems like right now we got comfortable with the fact that this was, the coronavirus was predominantly affecting black and brown and poor people.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, we will be able to incorporate this into our daily lives very easily. But if it starts killing white motherfuckers, then we'll panic. Middle class white motherfuckers. Whatever happened to Kathleen Quinlan?
I have no idea.
She's really good in this. As the new woman the kid brings home.
I know. I don't know. Let's see who else is in this one. Nancy Cartwright, of
Oh,
course.
yeah, Nancy Cartwright.
Yeah. Dick Miller, a Joe Dante regular, and that guy, R.I.P., the great Dick Miller.
Yeah, that guy, Dick Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin McCarthy, as I said, from the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yes.
Who pops up in tons of Joe Dante films.
Yeah, and for those that don't keep up with, or I guess no one really keeps up with him. For those that don't follow the work of Joe Dante, I'd recommend basically everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen his, I guess we'll say, recent output, and I'm not keen to check it out, I guess, too.
He did a movie called The Hole that I really liked in, like, 2009. And it's like, you watch it, and it's like, oh, this is a Joe Dante movie. It looks a little too like a generic horror film, but there's enough Dante in it to, like, overshadow that. I don't know, I liked it.
Well, I'll check it out. I still got to check out the Carpenter Master of Horror stuff.
Oh yeah, I found, I was looking on Amazon a couple weeks back, and the Masters of Horror first season was like $7.
Wow.
So I got it, and then I found out it's all for free on Tubi currently.
Oh.
But hey, it's just $7, whatever.
Yeah. Was it a physical copy?
No, I just digital. It was.
Oh, okay.
The physical copies were a little more expensive.
Let's see.
But,
and God, that's a series that I feel like would have done a lot better nowadays.
Yeah, now would be the time to do Masters of Horror.
Yeah.
Although when I watch it, I kind of understand why it didn't take off, because the quality is varying. Even when they're good. Even when, like, they're all kind of good, at least so far. And it's more of they're completely different, and they all, most of them aren't scary in the traditional way. To bring it back to Tobe Hooper, his Dance of the Dead one I really liked. But it was, like, incredibly mean and nihilistic.
Oh.
Yeah, but it had Robert Englund in it.
Oh, so it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, and he's really hamming it up. As, like, a...
Good, I love that guy.
Vampire zombie type guy in the post-apocalypse, I think.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of ideas going on in Dance of the Dead.
Okay, well, I'm really eager to check that one out now, especially now that I know it's on Tubi.
Yep, check it out. A lot of stuff on Tubi for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Also, Guy Ritchie's King Arthur. But anyways, let's check
Yeah,
out
well, see,
the
that's
last short.
That's the thing about how you got to go through a lot of shit to get to the good stuff on Tubi.
Let's talk about the last segment then. We can start wrapping up.
Yes, the last
fourth segment. Well, I guess the epilogue we talked about too. Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which I think might be the most popular Twilight Zone episode.
It's the one.
There's stuff for horror fans that people recognize. Like It's a Cookbook is for horror fans. The Eye of the Beholder horror fans know, but this is the one that's like a pop culture staple.
Yeah, I think everyone just knows it because it's been referenced so much. And this is directed by George Miller, right off of Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. And I mean, I love Joe Dante's segment. This one is by far and away the best segment in the anthology.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I like the Joe Dante one a lot, so I don't know about far and away, but it is the best one.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, George Miller, I think we're only now kind of realizing that guy was kind of operating on a different level for decades and no one noticed.
Yeah, this is going to be, like, people are going to be pissed that we didn't recognize that sooner.
Yeah.
You know, because he's really up there right now, and he's talked about doing... like having Fury Road introduce basically another Mad Max trilogy. And I don't want to be like a downer, but I don't know if he's going to be able to complete that vision at his age.
I am fine if Fury Road is the last one. Like,
oh no, I am too, because that's just like the best movie ever. Like without hyperbole, that might be like a top 10 movies of the last 50 years. Situation.
Yeah, it's that movie is amazing.
Yeah, I want him to be happy. That's it. Isn't
his next movie like a romantic fantasy film about a genie?
I have no idea. I genuinely do not know.
It's like I forget. It's called like 3,000 Years of something. Oh shit. Sorry, I dropped my mic again.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Let me know when you're good.
It's called like 3,000 Years of something, and it's going to star Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton.
Oh, okay. So awesome. Masterpiece.
And I heard it's about a genie falling in love with someone. But I don't know who's playing the genie. It's one of those things where like either of those actors can play the genie, and I'm there.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of After Fury Road, of course. Like, I got really interested in like his interviews and filmography and stuff like that. And he's gone on record for saying that Witches of Eastwick, which I have not seen, so I can't argue the quality of, but was a very difficult production for him. And Jack Nicholson, he's always been grateful for really going to bat for him against the studio, because the studio is kind of fighting him on every step of the way. But he did go to say that it was even more difficult because coming off Twilight Zone, he had such a really like great time making his segment, and that it was a really quality introduction into the like the Hollywood, like I guess, pantheon, so to speak. Because you know, Mad Max was just like in the outback of Australia, and then it got popular, and he got money to do a second one. And
Thunderdome was more like it was just Mad Max with some studio backing, you know.
Yeah.
And he also, like, Beyond Thunderdome, didn't they, like, co-direct that one? Like, that one has, like, a weird production history.
Yeah, because someone passed away on the set of that one as well. I think it was a friend of his, right?
Yeah, there was someone who died. Yeah, like, well, the producer who kind of was, like, basically his guy when it came to all the Mad Max films, died in, like, a plane crash just in the middle of filming.
And that's tragic.
I think it was like either that or a helicopter crash or something like that. Like an accident like unrelated to the production.
Oh.
Byron Kennedy.
That's good at least.
And it's unfortunate. And I think like his heart kind of like... That's why there's such an uneven tone with Beyond Thunderdome.
Mm-hmm.
Because he got out of it. And then he, of course, like you said, does Witches of Eastwick, which is a very difficult production. Then he does Lorenzo's Oil. like this drama film, which is really good, but like bombed horribly at the box office.
Aw.
And then he was like, he was ready to do Babe, but he was so like burned out. He was like, he gave it to like a protege. And then he spent the whole time making that movie fighting with the protege over who had ultimate creative control. Because, like, he kind of regretted not doing it. And then Babe comes out and, like, it's, like, Oscar nominations and, like, makes $100 million. And then he's like, fuck it, I'm doing the sequel. And then the sequel is one of the most insane films ever made. And it's the darkest film ever made, and it flops horribly at the box office.
Yeah, for comparison, Babe Pig in the City was made for... Oh, shoot, I just lost it. Babe Pig in the City was made for $90 million, and it only made $69 million at the box office. Babe was made for $30 million. Do you know how much it made?
How much?
$254 million.
Mm-hmm. Well, then.
Yeah, so pretty big drop-off.
Yeah.
But also, both Babes are among the best family films ever made.
Yeah, they're both amazing, and they're both polar opposites. And as a child who saw Babe Pig in the City when it was in theaters, don't show Babe Pig in the City to children. I have never been more aware of the certainty of death than watching Babe Pig in the City.
I was waiting for you to add something, so there it is.
Which is a movie I love, but yeah.
Yeah, he's got the weirdest filmography ever.
I know. And after that bombing, he was like, fuck it, I'm doing Happy Feet. Which is an odd pivot.
Yeah, and then, of course, Happy Feet 2, also kind of a bomb. It was made for $130 million, only made $150, and... I gotta find it. Hang on. This is the greatest quote of all time.
Oh, yeah, the Happy Feet 3 quote.
The only mention of a third Happy Feet film comes from an interview in which director George Miller was asked if he had any plans for Happy Feet 3. Quote, if you put a gun to my head and said, you have to come up with a story for Happy Feet 3, I'd say shoot me. I would have no idea. I really would have no idea. It's more positive with the full context. He says, like, stories creep up on you, you have to allow the stories to come, and then they get and like little earworms in your head and they won't go away. If that happens and we got the energy, we'll do it. We'll Do It is a fantastic movie, a third one. I think the quote gets muddled by this fan account, but the opening is like internet legend now because of that.
That's a good way to open.
Yeah. Which is also why it's important to read the full stories you're reporting on.
I just like that he was working on Justice League, like in the middle of both of those.
Yeah,
when he almost did the
Justice League Mortal.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Fuck it, I'm doing Happy Feet too."
Yeah, Justice League Mortal, which is also kind of legend. There's so many pockets of like legendary film history with George Miller. It's great.
Yeah,
but that's like one of the big ones.
He almost did like so many insane films.
Yeah.
And
have you read the script for Justice League Mortal?
Yes, it's fucking insane.
Yeah, it's also, I don't think it would have been very good.
It mostly doesn't work, but it's George Miller.
Yeah, no, so it would have been interesting. I don't think it would have been boring at all.
I think it would have been one of those things where we would have walked away from it being like, that was really, didn't make a lot of sense, but that was the best superhero action we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have been a little akin to the Raimi Spider-Man movies, had it been made.
Don't say that. Don't put that in my head. That's so beautiful.
Hey, back when we gave these superhero movies to people with actual visions.
Yeah. See, I don't even want to say that because it's not always about the director. Sometimes it's very clear now more than ever that these are producer-driven properties.
Yeah.
So that's the big problem.
We just criticized Kevin Feige for telling the same goddamn story over and over again.
That's a good finale for the movie.
We didn't even talk about Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
John Lithgow's great.
John Lithgow is fantastic. You know the first time I saw John Lithgow?
Where?
Dexter.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, he's a terrifying serial killer in a not great show that definitely probably doesn't hold up.
You know where I
But
first
he's
saw
really good.
John Lithgow? Shrek.
Oh, shit. Is he Lord Fuckwad?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then
And
never
his
mind. I
name's-
redact my statement.
His name's on the poster.
Oh, God, that's amazing.
It was
Good for him.
Myers, Diaz, Murphy, Lithgow. I want to say there's a scene in The Nightmare on 20,000 Feet where the monster. You better fucking know the story to this, listener, because I'm not explaining it. The gremlin appears in the window, and I was watching it with friends once, and it scared a friend so much they went home.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
They lived across the street, so they just walked out of my house and went home.
It has never been... This is kind of the Alien, the Thing, like, circumstance for me, where it's never, like, actually scared me. Because in the original series, it is just a goofy gremlin costume, you know? Like, maybe at the time, if I was a kid...
This is like a dude in an ape costume.
Yeah, it's like a big fuzzy teddy bear,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But, like, if I had seen that at the time as a kid, like, then maybe that would have been, like, petrifying, you know? But the filmmaking of that original episode and this segment of the film is very good, though. And I think it actually stands the test of time.
Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Would you recommend it?
It's easy to watch. It's on TV. Give it a shot.
Yeah, there you go. Tune in at the halfway point.
Yeah, really, like, you don't even need to see the first two. Which is crazy, because one of them is directed by Spielberg.
Sorry, Steve. You'll make it up to me with West Side Story, I'm sure. Because
Oh, yeah.
it's important to please the fans of your work. That's all movies are now. Pleasing fans.
Here's the real question about West Side Story.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Stephen Sondheim, who's still alive, against all odds, is still alive, despite definitely doing coke in the 70s, is still alive. He famously did not like the original film adaptation of West Side Story. And one of his big gripes was that in the play, you know, people, when instead of fighting, they dance, right? Like, that's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, that's what you do when you're on a Broadway stage, but if you're doing a movie, it's stupid. But that's also, like, the one thing people really know about the movie. So what is Spielberg just going to do the dancing?
I don't know. I'd be interested to see, like, how he's going to mix the two. Because I think he'll mix. I think there'll be some dance fighting and then, like, straight up, like, fisticuffs.
And is that a good idea?
I don't know.
This also feels like a movie that was greenlit because Greatest Showman was, like, a big hit. And then that's why we got Cats.
I do want to say that if it wasn't Spielberg remaking it, I would also be like, why are you bothering? Like, you're not going to do any better.
Yeah.
Although with the casting, you could probably not brown people up. I
Yeah,
think people would be okay with that.
That's the bonus of doing it, you know?
Yeah.
That's like, alright, we'll fix that problem now. But, yeah, it's, other than that, it's like, hey, why? Like, I don't know. This guy, what would be a better musical for Spielberg to do?
Honestly, just give him an original one.
Yeah, I guess, but, like, if people are only allowed to direct IPs now, so like, you got to give him one. You should do Assassins.
I do not know Assassins.
It's Stephen Sondheim. It's a musical about all the people who have assassinated presidents of the United States.
That's not real.
It's real. It's great.
No, it's not.
It's
There's
the
no
best.
way that's real.
I think it's the last musical Sondheim did.
I don't believe this.
Come on and kill a president.
No, that's a fake song.
No, that's the opening song. Which I believe is called... It's called something like Everyone Has the Right to Be Happy.
No. No.
And it's a guy like giving guns to all the assassins. And it's like, feeling down, kill a president.
Oh, that's incredible. No, I don't believe this is real.
Assassins is great. It's one of those ones where it's like, right now is the perfect and absolute worst time to do an adaptation of Assassins.
Oh, okay, yeah, give that to Spielberg. But have him bring around like his AI Minority Report level nihilism.
Yeah, it would be interesting. The problem is that it's like, it's a plotless musical, you know?
Well, so was Cats, and that worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I get it. You said the thing. But it's like, yeah, it's more just like, they go from assassin to assassin and they get a song.
Oh, God.
They even bring on...
Oh, my God, I need this.
It's really good. They even bring on the failed assassins. It's like all the people that tried to assassinate the president and failed.
Oh my God.
John Hinckley sings a love song to
America has never needed anything more than it needs assassins.
It's great.
Someone's gonna pull that quote of what I just said.
Yeah, that's not the way you should phrase that, Diego.
The film.
What America needs is assassins. What did Diego know?
Why was
Assassins.
Diego on the grassy knoll?
The revival of Assassins won 5 Tony Awards.
Oh, there we go. There's a movement happening. I feel it.
There you go.
Do you want to talk about the epilogue so we can stop recording now?
Sure. Dan Aykroyd shows back up.
Why is Dan Aykroyd in the weirdest Spielberg movies?
I don't know. He's also in Temple of Doom. Which is, so 1941, Twilight Zone, and Temple of Doom. That's an interesting run.
Wait, is he in Temple of Doom? Like, really?
When Indiana Jones is getting on the plane, and there's a guy doing a very clearly fake kind of British accent, that's Dan Aykroyd.
Oh my God.
We chartered a plane for you, Mr. Jones.
Twilight Zone, the movie.
Remember when Dan Aykroyd was in Pearl Harbor?
Oh my God.
And he's like great in it, but all he has to do is basically like give opinions on things. He's the one man who saw Pearl Harbor coming.
Oh my God, Michael Bay should finally get his musical.
Yeah, if Michael Bay does a musical, all sins will be forgiven. He should do Assassins. Fuck it.
Oh my God, that's it.
He would do it like
Michael
so
Bay's
wrong. He would do it so wrong it would come around to being correct.
Yes.
I'm gonna go listen to Assassins when this is over. Fuck it.
I'm gonna check it out for the first time now.
It's really good. Look for the off-Broadway recording. I really like that recording.
All right.
Even though I think the Broadway recording, it's what's his name?
That narrows it down.
Hey, shut the fuck up. The guy from How I Met Your Mother. Dr. Horrible.
Oh, Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes, I believe he was
a little ashamed. The Whedon one is what got me.
Yeah, hey, well, something worked.
Problematic. White men win again.
Whedon has definitely been trying to do Sondheim for a while now.
Oh, yeah, it's not even like, it's not a secret. He wants to do a musical.
Which if you're gonna ape from the right someone, might as well from the best.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Credit where it's due. The Buffy musical is fucking like amazing.
Yeah. I like Dr. Horrible, honestly. Even if
I forget that's a musical too.
Yeah. Even if it's like, it's a little weird, but it's whatever.
Yeah, they never did that sequel.
Yep.
Oh well.
Remember they wrote that because of the writer's strike?
Oh yeah, because they were all fucking bored.
Yeah, everyone was like, we got to prove that we can do things, even though there's a writer's strike. And they did, I guess.
Yeah.
That was like a big deal. That's what's funny about it. Like, you look at it now and it's just kind of like fine, but like it was like a huge deal for the industry when it happened.
Yeah, it was like #1 on iTunes and shit during all of that. Like, that was crazy.
Whedon, where you at? We're all going crazy under quarantine. do some more of that Shakespeare bullshit.
Well, he's got a new show on HBO coming out. It's supposed to be this fall. It's probably going to be later now. But
what is it?
It's about a bunch of female badasses in Victorian England fighting monsters and stuff.
Oh, I'm sure he'll handle that well.
Yeah, no, everyone's super excited about that.
Yeah, that's why I just heard about it just now.
Oh, Matt, you could let people know where to hear about you on the internet.
Good job, Diego.
I tried really hard.
Why do we like fall apart during these? I don't get it. This one shouldn't have been difficult, like, at all.
No, it was like as long as the movie again. Why do we keep doing that?
I don't know. And we barely talked about the movie. But I guess that's what the 5 people who listen to this regularly want, so...
Yeah, you're welcome, Dan and Ethan.
Yeah, thanks for, listening, I guess. This has been the podcast where I recommend Assassins.
You gotta let people know where they can
find
you.
I'm at Emperor OTN1 at twitter.com, and I am streaming every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch at Emperor OTN.
And I'm putting those in the descriptions now for all future reference, so you're welcome.
You've been streaming a little bit.
I have. I'm trying to work out a schedule. I think I might just do Fridays, you know, like Friday nights, and just kind of play some movie tie-in games, because that's what I have.
That worked out so well the last time.
Oh, I'm going to finish that fucking Thing game.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
God is my witness. And of course, you can find me at the Diego Crespo on Twitter. Check out the Waffle Press on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes, along with our Patreon, where you're going to get a couple of these episodes early, because Matt and I we're going to get back on this roll. We're going to get back on the ball.
We're going to get back on this roll. We're going to roll it out. Roll it out.
I had to close the window because it's just hot air coming in, and now it's just hot in this room, and I think it's having an effect on me.
We're gonna bust a move, Diego.
I'm gonna go see about some Assassins.
We're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna rock it out. We're gonna.
Thanks for listening.
We're gonna
Thanks
kill
for
a president.
No, we've been professionally unprofessional.
Bye.